In this part 1 of a 2-part series, we will be discussing a problem you are potentially having or creating for yourself while using Mavericks. In part 2, I will help you master the AGM 65. In this video, we're going to go over the following. First is the background to explain the problem people are having with the AGM 65. Then I'm going to duplicate the problem, followed by showing you how to correct the problem. By the end of the video, you should be able to notice your problem as well as correct it. I am making this video in regards to the amount of times I have seen individuals post that they have problems with the AGM 65. Just the other night, someone in the Viper Crew Discord posted they were having problems and sent a link to a forum post. This post had a track file which ended up not working on my end, but thankfully a user named Hobel posted a link for a YouTube video. On my first attempt to duplicate the problem, I couldn't. My problem was that I am used to doing things a certain way in which I have never had any problems with the 65s. So, I had to take a step back and watch the video again and really figure out what he was doing in terms of switchology. Or, in other words, which buttons he was depressing and when. I found that the order he was doing things is as follows. He searches for the moving target with the targeting pod, indicated by the S on the lower left of the TGP above the 3 indicating Station 3, which means the 65 is in slave. He also has the targeting pod in auto in order for it to auto hand off to the AGM 65, allowing the 65 to auto lock onto the target once the TGP starts tracking. Once the TGP starts tracking the moving target, you will see a 1 mnemonic appear above the 3, which is then quickly followed up by a T for tracking and C for correlated, indicating the auto handoff is completed. He then does TMS up in order to go into point track, but you can see that the TGP doesn't track the target, but the 65 does. So he has to find the target again, and you see the targeting pod starts tracking. This is important. He breaks lock with the 65, fixes the field of view, and relocks the target. Once the vehicle comes to a stop, he then proceeds to depress OSB 20 adjacent to BSGT, which means boresight. Once he does that, boresight inverts and reverts back, indicating that the boresight is accomplished. The AGM 65 line of sight circle in the HUD jumps back to the original spot where the first point track started. He does TMS down to unlock, and then TMS down a second time, which brings the AGM 65 video slightly left of the target, which, if you see the 65 line of sight circle, is where the second point track started. It does not go back to the original system point of interest, or SPI, because the missile video has been boresighted with the targeting pod. And the line of sight circle in the HUD does not go back to the original SPI, but rather the point at which the targeting pod started tracking. He then moves the video on the weapon page to show you that the line of sight circle is not with the TD box. Now this is happening because once the targeting pod is tracking a target and an AGM-65 is the selected weapon and pre is the selected delivery mode, the AGM-65's line of sight is slaved to the SPI, which in this case is controlled by the targeting pod line of sight. The avionics system then routes the missile video to the targeting pod's missile boresight correlator, or MBC, then compares the 65 video to the targeting pod video, aligns the 65 to the same target, which the information from the MBC is then saved to the 65's boresight memory once you depress boresight. And then, finally, it commands track. But, because he started tracking a moving target and then boresighted after the target stops, he essentially made a steering error inside the missile's memory. Remember, once the targeting pod starts tracking, the avionics system routes the missile video to the targeting pod, and the targeting pod's MBC compares the 65 video to the targeting pod video and brings the 65 to where the targeting pod is looking. This is what is happening when you do a handoff. Also important to mention that slewing the 65 does not affect the SPI or any other sensors. So if you move your targeting pod, which can control the SPI, you will create a steering error. So, if you locked a moving target with your 65, then moved your targeting pod after it was locked, then broke lock with your 65, then relocked, and then finally boresighted, you're going to give your 65 steering errors from the targeting pod. But you can fix this by simply accomplishing another boresight. Before I demonstrate this, it is important to note that you will experience INS drift the longer you fly as shown. This is why it is important to have fix points or reference points in order to do a fix by using ISP 8. Here you can see the difference in the screenshots. Alright, welcome to the demonstration portion. I got the list of things I need to make sure I'm doing. Just gonna get in here, I'm gonna point down to the target. And right there should be good. Pause. Active pause. I'll turn this down. Cool. And get the area in view and pause my tricolor. Perfect. Okay. So, gonna go up into this list, gonna go to air to ground, make sure I'm in pre-targeting pods and auto. Come on. There you go. Go manual game, white hot. This doesn't really matter, it's just personal preference for me. Weapon, turn to contrast. A little bit there. It's good. So, first thing he does is tries to attempt a point track the target but misses, and the 65 will auto lock. So let's do that. This way. And keep note of where this happens. It'll be important. And DMS up. Point track. I'm not going to move it. I'm going to let this play out. He, obviously, in his video, he retracks the target pretty quick. Which makes it kind of hard to notice what he is doing. So when I mean I watch that video a lot, I've watched that video damn near frame by frame. But if you notice right now, we have a C over the Station 3 on the MFDs, indicating that everything is still correlated. So if I was to break lock with the 65, it would go back to the targeting pod right now. So right now, the missile is tracking, and we're just waiting. I'm gonna wait till it's in a good enough area. I don't want it over the original speed, which is in the center of the airfield on that vehicle. I'm gonna wait till he goes down, but we're gonna follow this runway and we'll start tracking up again. Which again, take note of where this happens. That should be good. Boom. All right, tracking. So I'm gonna mark those two spots on the screen. I'm gonna break lock, zoom in, relock. Now we wait. Alright. So far, we searched for the target with the targeting pod, tried to point track, missed on purpose, obviously. 65 tracked the target, which was good. We redid the point track a little later on to exaggerate the problem. We broke lock, relocked with the 65. Once he stops, we're in boresight. Yeah, so here. Alright, cool. So he stopped, we're in a boresight, and you'll see this circle. Now, think to yourself, from everything I talked about, do you think it's going to go to the second point track or the first point track? Boresight. Oh, look at that. Went to the first one. Okay. Which is crazy. So now what he does is he does team us down. Team us down twice. Boom. Now it's over the second part, the second point track area. Okay. So, yeah, it's just, this is a crazy thing that I don't understand why people are having a problem with, but they are. But watch what happens when I move the 65 video over the target now. You think the circle is going to go to the first point track? I think so. Let's see. If I can't get enough. Close enough. Pretty much in the area, right? Yeah, I think that's close enough. But you see, it's literally over the same area that we first point tracked, okay? So that data essentially got transferred over. That offset got transferred over, or the staring error, I should say, got transferred to the missile from the targeting pod. Okay. Now, this is where the dude's video stops. He kind of just moves this around and TMS down twice. Or once, I guess. TMS down once, TMS down once. And I can do this all day long. I can move it every single time. It's gonna have that offset. Okay. Now what he doesn't show is this. Okay. Now I'm gonna make the targeting pod soy. And you see obviously the Maverick screen moved. Uh, remember that little offset we had from here to here? Okay. I'm gonna go back to the original speed, and this is important. This is what you want to do to read boresight. You want to go back to your original speed. Alright, so we cursor zeroed. We cleared the steering errors in the system. And I'm gonna take the 65 and I'm gonna put it over the target. Okay. And boom. Still has the steering error inside the system. The missile retained that steering error. Okay, so this gap right here should be the equivalent gap of when we first started tracking and the second point track. Okay, that gap is the same gap. Okay, and in editing, I'll kind of lay those over each other so you can see for yourself. But super simple to fix. Okay, so I'll go back to the target pod so the Maverick moves. And now that I cleared that steering error, I can now go back to that original target that I want to destroy and team us up. Handoff's gonna try to happen. It's not. I move this over the target. Yep, come on. There we go. A little to the right. Right there. And boresight. And circle jumps. Now it's over the target. Now, every time I do this, team us down, it's gonna go back to where the target pod's looking. I do this, it's gonna follow. It's gonna be beautiful. Everyone's gonna be happy at the end of the day with this, okay? But say you got things you gotta do, right? You got crap to destroy here, okay? Oh, where's this target at? I want this target. There he is. Okay. So we're gonna point track this target. Okay. Now to really kind of show you the offset here, boresight this. Let it keep moving, let it keep moving. And this next part will kind of give you a really home in the fact of what I'm talking about. Come on. I'm gonna get it just outside the box here. Okay. One more time should be good. Alright. Keep that image in your head, okay? Because I already boresighted, so it doesn't matter. Go to my target pod. Okay. I'm gonna break lock this. It's gonna do that. Cool. So, see, they still move together. Enslave. Gotta go back to the original speed. Gotta put my 65 on the target here. And boom. Same offset, okay? That's all you're doing. You're just transferring steering errors. That's all you're doing. It's not that big a deal. You could have these steering errors and still lock up a target because the 65 on the video page, the weapon page, is looking for a contrast. It doesn't care about the speed because the targeting pod controls the speed, not the 65. So I'll do this. Actually, I'll put this on this target. I'll do the same thing with, because it's good to go. This is not been boresighted. Okay, so this is gonna follow. Okay, but I'll do the same thing. I'll show you that it does not matter. You could fix the boresight if you want to, but it's not gonna matter. The boresight. Oh man, and look at that. Look at that steering error. I'm gonna break the block here. Do all that. You see the video's just way off. Go back here. Do that. That distance should be the same. Because it's at the end of the runway. I put it here. Now the line of sight on the HUD is at the end of the runway. But yeah, that's literally the problem. Showed you how to correct it. That's the problem. So hopefully you can now have fun with the 65 like everybody else wants to. It's not that hard to use. It's not. People are. Hopefully, I proved the point that people are just creating a self-induced problem here. There's nothing wrong with the 65. There's nothing wrong with the 16. Everything works perfectly fine. It's a self-induced problem that is correctable by just cursor 0, re-accomplish the boresight, and all is fine. Okay? So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff, or feel free to dislike it. Up to you. If you dislike it, leave a comment, and yeah, let me know what you didn't like, or if you think it's still broken, let me know in the comments. But hopefully you understand it now. Second part of the video, or part 2 of all this, will be an actual tutorial where I will go step by step everything from the ground, doing ground boresights, air boresights, talk about the weapon a little bit more, and then I will, yeah, I'll kind of show you some other stuff that'll happen if you do certain things like pull too many G's with the 65 video up. But in my opinion, 65 on the 16 is modeled extremely well, based off everything I know about it and what I've worked with the missile and everything. It works like it should, honestly. The systems are talking to each other, seems in the correct manner, and correcting the issue is a pretty simple fix. It's just a rebore site. So, hope you enjoyed. Peace out.